The appointment of the notorious warmonger John Bolton as the new U.S. National Security Advisor has already made everyone guessing the White House is moving toward a new war somewhere in the world. Bolton's appointment, together with Mike Pompeo as the new Secretary of State, already means to many that an anti-Iran team will soon be at the helms in Washington. But what is important is to know which group or groups would specifically benefit from the appointment of this dangerous duo. Bolton is largely known to have good ties with Mujahideen-e-Khalq organization, the MKO. And many are speculating whether this anti-Iran group that has a long history of assassinating Iranians over the past 4 decades would soon see its agenda taken up in the Oval Office. An agenda which specifically has a regime change in Tehran at its very core.
There has been a long-standing effort within the United States to minimize, diminish Iran. That has always been the case. This has been a policy now for, well, at least 5 decades or close to 5 decades now. The idea that the likes of a John Bolton would continue to support the MEK and other organizations against the Iranians does not surprise me whatsoever, because frankly, that's the point.
The Mujahideen-e-Khalq organization, the MKO, fell out of grace in Iran in early 80s after it started assassinating Iranian officials as well as ordinary citizens for its own organizational goals. The group, which is today internationally known as a dangerous cult, is believed to be responsible for killing around 17,000 Iranians. The MKO even joined hands with the former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein in his deadly 8-year war with Iran. They also helped Saddam Hussein crack down on Iraqi dissent. They are to the same effect despised in both Iran and Iraq. But what motivated the incoming U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton to develop close ties with this terrorist cult?
It's a wonderful question. If we look at the MEK in the past, I mean, they go back multiple decades, and this is a terrorist group. The United States called it a terrorist group. The Europeans called it a terrorist group until anywhere between 2008 and 2012. So that is a fact. And in fact, if we look at what they have done in terms of their support of the Iraqis during the Iraq-Iranian war, that's not really a surprise either. I can take you back to the 1980s during President Reagan's time, when we talked about the Mujahideen on one side, we talked about freedom fighters on the other, we talked about terrorists, and what we find is perspective is everything. Your guy is the freedom fighter. Their guy is the terrorist. Is this hypocrisy? Is this American hypocrisy? The answer, very simply, is yes.
John Bolton has repeatedly appeared in MKO gatherings and delivered speeches centered around the need and the promise to do a regime change in Iran. But Bolton clearly ignored the fact that a sovereign establishment is in place in Tehran and that Iranians choose whoever they want to rule through democratic elections. The question that comes to the mind of many is what would be the implications of an anti-Iran dreamer in the White House?
If we look at the people that President Trump is bringing into power with him, into office with him, my concern is they have been very, very clear about this. I had a long conversation myself with Ambassador Bolton sometime in the past, and I specifically asked him about Iran, and what he told me was there were 2 options: regime change or we attack them militarily. Those were his 2 options. So yeah, this is not a stretch. This is very real.
The world will sooner or later realize what US President Donald Trump had in mind when he appointed Bolton as his new national security advisor. But analysts are already seeing Bolton's appointment and the eventual empowering of the anti-Iran MKO as another instance of American hypocrisy. It shows how the American leadership is ready to extend its hands to terrorists to push ahead its own agenda against a specific country. A policy that Washington is suspected to have already used in creation of Daesh terrorists.